Hey all, Foundation Afro here, and this is the first episode of a new program I'm doing called The Nerd Word, where I talk about nerdy topics, because, as many of you know, I am a nerd, and I'm proud to be a nerd, because as Professor Frink from The Simpsons would say, nerd stands for not even remotely dorky, so thank you for calling me a nerd. Thank you very much. So, what is the first topic of this new show, Nerd Word? Today, I'm going to be talking about FTL travel and the different kinds of FTL travel. Now, for those of you who don't know, FTL travel stands for faster than light travel, so basically moving at velocities greater than light, which is approximately 2.99 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. I'm going to start off with my favorite, which is Asimovian Hyperspace. I might be a little biased because I am a fan of Isaac Asimov, the creator of Asimovian Hyperspace. In fact, Foundation, that's where my name comes, I mentioned before, Foundation Afro, his Foundation book series. But the thing about Asimovian Hyperspace is that it's instantaneous. You get from point A to point B immediately, no travel time whatsoever. So it's very, very quick. You don't actually spend any time in the hyperspace itself, because as soon as you're in, you're out at your destination. But that's also the problem with it, because spending no time in hyperspace means you can't adjust your course whatsoever. And I'll explain this problem. Let's say I'm walking from one side of the room to the other. I look at the other side of the room, I plot my course, and then walk in a straight line there. If I'm off by a tiny fraction of a degree, it's not going to make a problem. These are rooms so tiny that tiny degree isn't going to increase, like imagining a right angle triangle, it's not going to increase the distance like that. But when you're traveling across hundreds of thousands of kilometers across light years, yeah, that tiny fraction of a degree can make a difference, and even the best computers can't calculate to an infinite amount of decimal points because that would take an infinite amount of time, so they're off by just tiny bits. So in Asimovian hyperspace, rather than just taking one jump as some travel hyperspaces do, it takes multiple jumps, sometimes even dozens of jumps. So it's not perfect, no type of hyperspace is. It's just my favorite. I think it works best because, yeah, you have to jump over and over and over again, but you have to recalculate each jump, because you might be off by a little bit, but it's still really, really quick. There's some travel times on the ends because, in addition to not wanting to screw up your path, if you screw up your path, you have to aim for an empty area, because if you screw up your path too much, you don't want to wind up in the middle of a planet or middle of a star or something. So you have to aim for empty areas, which also means on your last jump you have to put yourself relatively far away from the planet you want to go to. So there's some travel times on the end and the beginning because you have to find this empty spot in space, but still, it's pretty quick. Next, I'm talking about Slipspace like they use in Halo. Slipspace is a lot slower than hyperspace because you actually have to travel through it, and you might be traveling through it for months rather than being instantaneous. So that's a downside, but again, when you're in slipspace, you're actually in there for an amount of time, so you can adjust your course while you're in there, replot it, and show up in where you want if you screwed up when you aimed. So that's one of the upsides of hyperspace, or slipspace rather. Slipspace, I'll admit, I don't know a lot about. Huh. So maybe that's all I'm going to be saying about it. If you know more about slipspace, greater knowledge. Slipspace is good because it has uses other than FTL travel. Suspended animation is one of them. In the year, at least at the point of the Human Covenant War, neither humans nor Covenant have the technology advancements to be able to do this. But the Forerunners could do this. They could suspend beings in like tiny slipspace bubbles, where they wouldn't age in any way. Kind of like super advanced cryogenics, except if the pod disconnects from the ship or something, cryogenics, that might start losing power. The person's side melts and dies. If the slipspace bubble disconnects from wherever it's connected to, nothing happens because they're still in slipspace and suspended animation. Nothing's happening to them, so that helps, except the problem that we don't know how to get those people out of the slipspace bubbles. And it's not just people, someone this size that can fit through slipspace bubble. You can fit like a gigantic area, like the distance from here to our sun, from Earth to our sun, slipspace bubble. Like a gigantic planet. Except it's not a planet, it's like you're on the inside of a planet. Inside of a sphere, that's just how it works. But yeah, one big upside of slipspace is the... oh jeez, just had it. The suspended animation part, or the... like I said, the area inside the bubble is from here to our sun, but it's really only like this size, so tremendous things can be fit into tiny, tiny packages, which sounded a bit creepy now that I think about it, so I think I'm going to end this part of the video here. Okay, now the third and final type of FTL travel rather that I'm going to talk about is warp speed, as in what they use in... my brain's gone blank. Star Trek. The thing about warp speed is the ship doesn't actually enter a different dimension as it would in hyperspace or slipspace. Rather, the dimension kind of forms around the ship itself, and the ship travels through real space at various different velocities, which is another thing. It can go at different speeds depending on how fast it has to go, like warp 1, warp 2, warp 3, warp 3.14159265358979323. Just as a nerd, I thought I'd throw some pi in there. But yeah, it can go a bunch of different speeds, but it's in real space, which means it has to look out for planets. Because it's not actually somewhere else like a ship in hyperspace or slipspace would be. It's flying around through these planets, which means very precise calculations have to be made before they increase their speed to warp velocity, or they might crash into these planets, and they have to, as they're at warp speed, they have to be making all these calculations, watching the road as they're driving so they don't smash into a planet or a sun or something, because that might not be very good for the crew on board. But the upside of them being in real space is they can still send and receive messages. They can launch probes, drop off transport ships that will drop into slower than light speeds, things like that. So it has its upsides and downsides as well, just like both hyperspace and slipspace do. So, thank you for watching my nerdy video as I'm wearing, a Star Wars shirt. Star Wars Hyperspace is fairly similar to Slipspace. There are some differences, but I don't know a lot about it, so I'm not going to discuss it. If you want to tell me in the comments below about Star Wars Hyperspace, I would be more than happy to hear that. Also feel free to tell me about other kinds of hyperspace. What's your favorite? Why do you like it? What you dislike about it? What's your least favorite? Stuff like that. I will also post in the description a link to a thread I'm creating on Ready Up Live about the same topic, where you can post more than the 500 characters that YouTube allows in your posts in the thread, and I will include what do I call it? Oh jeez, my brain has gone blank. A poll. 4 options. There will be Asimovian Hyperspace. I don't know how to say it. His name's Isaac Asimov, but I always say Asimovian. Asimovian Hyperspace. Slipspace. Warp speed. And then other, please describe, where you will describe down below in the thread. Just check off what your favorite kind is, tell me why, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a like, please subscribe, and tell me what you thought, and tell me what you think of all these FTL types of travel, and maybe even give me a topic for my next Nerd Word video. So, see you next time, everybody. This is Foundation Afro saying bye-bye.